What's up everybody, Matt Inman back once again with another review, and this time we're talking about Solo, a Star Wars story. But before I get into Solo itself, let me give you a rundown of what I think about the new current run of Star Wars movies, just to give you an idea as to where I'm at right now.
Overall, I thought Force Awakens was a great return to form for the franchise. It was great for old fans and was also good for ushering in a new generation of fans as well. Overall, it's exactly what Star Wars should be, a character-driven space opera that can be enjoyed by any fan at any age. Rogue One, on the other hand, was a complete misfire, featuring unlikable characters and not much of a sense of direction and intentionally decanonizing things in the original trilogy. Seriously, where the fuck are the Bothans in this movie? The tacked on Vader scene towards the end is cool, I guess, but it's exactly that, tacked on. The Last Jedi is the one I'm most divided on. While it certainly has its high points and Rian Johnson obviously is a decent director, it just seems like the higher budget he has, the worse his movies are. Seriously, watch Looper again. It has more holes than my grandma's fleece blanket. And Last Jedi is such a disjointed mess, it only gets worse the more time it marinates. It's almost like Rian Johnson just wanted to make his own Star Wars fan fiction rather than a true sequel to The Force Awakens.
So, Solo. Where does it sit with me exactly? Where does it lie on the spectrum of Star Wars movies? Well, for a movie that I didn't think should happen at all, it's actually a pretty good time, and it's possibly the most Star Wars-y feeling of the recent output. Now, just a second. Hear me out here. Put your online petitions and your hashtags away for just a second, because a perfect movie this is not. Solo starts out on the planet Corellia as Han and his boo thang Kyra are plotting their escape, as it seems like there's this underground crime syndicate that's making them do odd jobs. Han escapes, Kyra does not, and he vows to come back to her one day, so he joins the Empire to become a pilot. But along the way, he comes across this group of scoundrels doing a job and wants to join them. He, and along with a certain Wookiee we know all too well, end up going on a heist. But because this is a movie and we need an inciting incident, shit just goes all kinds of awry, and now they're indebted to the big baddie of the movie, Dryden Voss. If it sounds super basic and by the numbers, that's kind of because it is, but I honestly think the bare-bones structure of it serves the movie rather than harming it. This is a simple, fun Star Wars story, and it's exactly what we needed right now with the mess of convoluted bullshit we've been getting recently. Before I get into anything else about this movie, however, let's talk about the man himself, Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo. Does he do the character justice? Sometimes. In some scenes of the movie, it seems like he has a really good sense of who the character is and he plays it out perfectly. But then in the very next scene, it seems like he has no fucking idea what he's doing and he's just putting on his best cosplay imitation of the character. It's a super mixed bag. A lot of you are probably hearing that Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian is the best part of the movie, and that's mostly true. He's definitely the most memorable character in the movie, and he definitely has a fantastic sense of who the character is and plays it to a fucking T, like I wish Alden Ehrenreich would throughout the entire movie. But he's just not in the movie enough, I think, to really say he's the best part. I don't know. I wish he was in it more, I guess. I'd actually personally lean more towards saying Chewbacca is the best part of the movie, in my opinion, but that's just from one fan to another. And really, that's kind of the heart of the movie, are the characters. Not all of them are timeless, sure, and some of them definitely fade into the background, but there's a handful of super memorable characters in this movie. Like I said, they're not timeless, but overall the ensemble is super solid and definitely holds this movie up whenever it gets into its shakier moments. And the heist scenes, when they happen, are exactly how I want them to be. They're tense, thrilling, and they pack just enough punch, again, to keep the movie going through its more trying times. And I think the last thing that I really love about this movie is that it's not afraid to just let you as an audience member go and just have fun. This is not a thinking man's Star Wars movie by any means, and nor should it be. This is just a movie where you munch away on your popcorn, enjoy the characters that are on screen, and just have a fucking fun space adventure. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. That is the heart of Star Wars. However, if you couldn't tell by me kind of treading around them during the positives, this movie definitely has its issues. The movie is super inconsistent, especially in its writing, its pacing, and its overall identity of what it wants to be. The first 20 minutes, it really stumbles along, and it's really struggling to find its footing as a movie until the scene happens. And let me get sidetracked real quick and talk about that scene. The scene in question is where Han eventually meets up with this group of scoundrels on the battlefield. Like I said, it's just in this war front. There's fire, death, and destruction, and you can really feel his struggle and fear as this lone infantryman. And it really just made me want a movie all about that, like just a battalion of stormtroopers on the war front having this intense experience. It really brought the war into Star Wars like I've never seen it before, just in this quick little 1-minute scene. But enough of that. The ending really drags as well. I feel like this movie took way too fucking long to end, and it also could have ended at several different points before it ended. It's like that problem that people have with Return of the King that I don't have, where it has like 7 different endings. It's not maybe to that extreme, but it just bugged me. The lack of any real villain in this thing is also sorely upsetting to me, because that's another thing that I feel is very much the heart of Star Wars, is a strong and memorable villain, and this movie just kind of doesn't have it. Paul Bettany does the best that he can with Dryden Voss, but Dryden's only in like 2 scenes of the movie, so his impact is like this much. Han and Kyra's relationship is probably the worst part of the movie in my opinion. It's easily the most corny part of the movie at any rate, and the dialogue that they exchange back and forth is not quite Anakin Padme level, but it's just gag worthy in its cheesiness. It's so syrupy, sweet, and inauthentic. Like, nobody says these things to each other in any situation, so why here? It just really bugged me, and it just didn't feel organic at all. Unfortunately, though, in order to really get my full opinion out there on this movie, I do have to delve a little into spoiler territory. So if you've not seen this movie, do skip to this timestamp. Let's talk about Kyra's character for a moment, shall we? Because holy shit, she's infuriating. She is the most inconsistent fucking character in the whole Star Wars franchise. She's so back and forth in what she's going to do throughout the entire movie, even though it's clear what she really is going to do from the start. It's the most telegraphed twist of all time. Though she doesn't necessarily betray Han like we're led to believe, she still does almost exactly what I thought she was going to do from the fucking get-go. What I really want to talk about, though, is who she ends up having a hologram conversation with after Dryden Voss is killed off and Han goes to wait for her at the ship. She's talking to Darth fucking Mull. That's huge. And I got a couple problems with it. Mull does not look finished at all. It was almost like they had this idea for the scene way after they'd already put everything together for this movie, and they just kind of pieced something together at the last second and tacked it on. It's super unfinished, it's really early work, and it just really distracted me from the impact that it could have had. Though it is really cool that they're foreshadowing to the eventual encounter between him and Obi-Wan. In a future spin-off movie, I just couldn't help but to be put off by how he looked. Overall, Solo as a whole is a pretty mixed bag. It does just as many things right as it gets wrong, and I can't help but to think if that's the cause of the whole director debacle, and it gets me even further thinking how things would have turned out if that hadn't have went down the way it did. I'd still suggest checking the movie out, though. Like I said, it's a super fun space adventure. It's exactly the kind of Star Wars that we needed right now, but it's nowhere near a perfect movie by any means, though we've definitely seen worse Star Wars before. I think I'm gonna give Solo: A Star Wars Story a 63 out of 100. Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid number. And if you've seen Solo: A Star Wars Story, please do let me know what you think about it in the comments. Please don't burn me alive or anything like that. I'm just a guy on the internet talking about movies. That's it. You can have your own opinion. That's fine with me. And that about wraps it up for this review, guys. I've got an announcement vlog coming up soon with some pretty big stuff in it, so stay tuned for that. That should be out within the next couple of days. But in the meantime, I'm Matt Inman, and I'll see you guys next time.